Clickbait.
All right, so our number 3 story is about video game sex scenes, and it's funny because one of the things a long time ago they would talk about was, that a video game would really cross over when the story would make you laugh, would make you cry, would make you, sympathize with the characters. But just like with everything else, it's like, TNA sells too. So we were looking over 2 different articles that were talking about like uh, controversial or well-known video game sex scenes, and I just want to get your opinion. Like, does that do anything? Like sometimes even in a movie, like obviously, if the girl looks good or whatever, and you're like, oh wow, that's hot. But I mean, for a video game, do you think that adds really anything to it besides, hey, it's a love story, so we have to throw in some sex scene?
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, when they put a lot of the scenes into the game, like one of the biggest ones that they show in the article that like you linked to me is like the Witcher 3, which when you sit there and you look at, like, I still have to sit down and completely play that game, but it is one of those games that when you go through the narrative of the game itself, it is like so like really, really like well done. And it's neat because like when you're going through it, like the main person that he's trying to like find is this woman that in the lore of the whole thing, like he was in love with her and all that, and then she like disappeared. So it was like when you sit there and you look at that in that game itself, it made so much sense because she was like his love interest in the first game. He ends up like helping this other girl in the second game, and then in the third game you actually meet up with both of them. And it was really funny to see how you could sit there and sleep with one and not the other, or you could sleep with the second one and not the first. And they even had like a joke thing where you could actually get both of them in bed together, but it was hilarious because they would both get pissed off at you because you would try and get both of them to sleep with you at the same time. So it was this hilarious thing, and it was great because it did add to the narrative of the game, which was funny, but then you have like games that will have these like sex scenes just to have the sex scenes in them. Like one of the biggest games where it was like, okay, it makes no sense or whatever is the Leisure Suit Larry games. Like that was a game about you trying to have sex, so it was like part of the narrative. But like when you look at that last one that they did, that Magna Cum Laude, was just like, it was such a like cheesy game to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like playing in Mass Effect, I thought that was kind of funny because like Mass Effect, of course, had some good story to it too. But then you had all the interactions with the crew. And I liked playing the female as a main character. So that changed everything up because there are actually some females who you could like, quote, sleep with. But it's like, if you really wanted to get as many sex scenes as possible, you had to play as a guy. But in the end, it's weird because you kind of think, like when you're talking to people and you play the game, and I've talked to people who played Mass Effect, and I asked them, I was like, when you play the game, do you try to make sure that you say the right things to make sure that you can sleep with them? And they're like, hell yeah, I do. I want to see that shit. So obviously it works because people are actually modifying how they play so they can get to those sex scenes.
What was the one that made me laugh was, and looking at it, it's the first picture that you see in it, was from Far Cry 4. And was it 4 or 3? No, it's 3, Far Cry 3. And I don't know if you've played through Far Cry 3. So like the whole thing of the game is like you and your friends like go on this vacation or whatever, and you go to this island. And it just so happens that this island, there's a crazy like drug dealing, psychopathic kind of like warlord that's taking over this island. So he basically captures you, your brother, and your friends, and then like you start to escape with your brother, and he ends up killing your brother. And I will say this, like one of the best, like most intense scenes happens right at the beginning of the game. And it's like you get caught, and the guy's name is Voss. He's sitting there talking to you, and he's like, hey, did I ever tell you about the definition of insanity? And he's like, it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result every time. And then he starts like going off on this rant and all that. And like, you realize your character's looking around, you realize like your hands are tied up and your feet are tied to this like rope, and the rope is next to a rock on the edge of this like mountainside that you're on. And he's doing this, and you see this dude a bit away from you, like yelling and all that. And all of a sudden you see like one of Voss's guys kick the rock off, and it pulls the guide in. And like right before Voss does this to me, he goes, "Hey, did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?" And then he pushes the rock off, and that's how like the game starts. But as you start going through the game, like you escape this thing and you realize like how many people he's actually done this shit to and all that. And you like meet these like islanders that live there on the island, and and they tell you like, "Oh, we've been trying to like break away from this guy doing all this stuff and all that." And you meet this chick, and it's so funny because she's supposed to be this like shaman, and there's literally a part in the game where you're sitting there going through this like tripping scene, and you're going through it and you're seeing Voss and you're seeing your friends and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then like the scene like kicks back and you realize your dude's laying there and there's this chick sitting on top of you having sex with you. You know, the shaman chick. And I'm like, wait, what the hell just happened here? And it's crazy because like the thing that was cool about that game is like you figure you get to a point in the game where you kill Voss and you save your family, but then you realize like, oh, that's only about halfway through the game. You find out who this guy Voss was working with, and you like choose to like tell your friends like, get the hell out of here. I'm gonna finish this. You know what I mean? So it was like a really interesting game, though.
You know, something else that's interesting as far as the sex scenes was Heavy Rain, because I didn't play that, but a friend of mine played and I watched him play. And what was really interesting is that to get to the sex scene and even part of the sex scene, you control it, which I figure for some guys, that's probably the closest you're all ever going to get to actually control. Because it's like, there's a scene where they're basically like talking, right? And that's fine. And then it's like, move your hand towards her shoulder and then rotate the shoulder to like massage it. It's like, it goes on and on for a bit. And it's like, if you do it wrong, it's like you kill your chances, which I guess it's a good trainer. It's like if you take off the bra wrong, you know, you should get like a cutscene where she's like slaps you and it's like game over. It's like in Arkham City, you know, when you get killed and the Joker walks up to you, talk shit, she'll be talking to you like, learn how to take off a bra.
You gotta do that one-handed unclip. You gotta do it one-handed. Right. That's a skill. That's a skill right there. Just think.
That's right. For you guys, if you can do it the one-hander, there's actually a bunch of things you can do with one-handed that can. Well, anyway, the other one was The Sims, and that's crazy because in The Sims, they actually have a group of people who put together like these crazy mods with like realistic genitalia and toys and sex scenes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like basically when you get in, you can do everything. And I swear one of the craziest things to do, because you can throw parties, especially in one of the expansion packs that's called Let's Party. You can invite all these people over to your house and throw a party. And then all you do is you turn on the sex mod. Everyone's naked. Everyone's having sex. There's things flying all over the place. People are getting mad because you're having sex with the person that you're supposed to be friends with. And it's great. I mean, you probably could make a reality show just based on that mod. Or I guess it'd be like a porno reality show like they have on a Playboy television. But
yeah, that was... The Sims was the game that, like, let's see how maniacal of a person you are in killing these fake people.
Yeah,
I think like my favorite way when playing, I think I think it was Sims was, you know, I got to a point where like my Sims had a like really far advanced career. They owned this huge house. Like I had money out the ass, so I didn't have to worry about it. So then I was like, all right, I'm bored. What am I gonna do? I'm like, I know. So I threw this party where he invited everyone over from the neighborhood. And then you move everybody into the kitchen. And then you seal the kitchen. And then you find the person with the worst cooking skills and then make them cook on the gas stove. And watch the hilarity as a fire will obviously break out. And then, of course, the Sims start freaking out. They start calling the fire department. And then the fire department shows up and they can't get into the kitchen. Because there's no doors. You just barbecue the whole freaking
The fire department shows up like, what the hell is this?
They like hang around, and it's funny because they hang around outside for a bit, and and then they just leave eventually, and then they call the fire department again. They all come back out.
Is that like a commentary on us as people that we play The Sims and we start off trying to be normal citizens, go get a job, get some schooling, build up your house, and then after a while we're like, man, fuck it. Sex and violence. Like back to the primal.
All right, I'm tired.
Hey guys, listen. You like the games? You like the interviews? You like the shows? How about you click on that subscribe button and also give us a like? We really need your help here, huh?